Open, welcome to the chat, my friend. How are you doing? What's good? Bubba Kush, God's gift, the good stuff. So we're currently waiting for Mark Dream's philosophy to get up in here. So, he may just randomly pop up, or we may have to redo this part of the stream. Depends on what he can figure out. But what you're looking at right here is a liquid extract of meat vagina. You know the rest of the word. And if you'd like to pick some up, then you can go check out the sponsors of this live stream. He said he was going to join. He may be having technical difficulties at the moment, so just give it a minute. Not the most ideal camera angle, but until I can get my tripod and all that stuff back and reset up my studio, this is the best I'm going to be able to do for now. Open Eyes Music, one word. Oh, do you make music? Music is a great way to express yourself and things that you've experienced. There's only one song that I've ever made that I actually don't like. Like, anytime that I go back to the album to re-listen to it, I typically skip over it. And the song itself is called Unconscious Baggage. Because the entire idea of making it was simply, can I take my boredom and somehow instrumentally convey that to an audience? And the answer was 1, yes, and 2, I don't ever want to hear this song another day in my life. David, welcome to the chat. David asked, hey, can I tell you something, please? Absolutely. Open says, I make a lot of music, and I also do animation and visuals. Oh, that's awesome, dude. Yeah, it's always good to have multiple passions like that. Like, I have nothing against somebody who's like, oh, I'm just a drummer, or I'm just an editor or whatever, but I'm personally the kind of person who much prefers having a multitude of different things that I do, whether it's making short films, making music, making vlogs, making video game content, making anime content. It really doesn't matter as long as I'm passionate about it, because having such a large variety of things that you do, I think, makes you a more entertaining artist than anything else, rather than somebody who, oh, all I do is play video games. Cool. I know your shtick. Versus the person who's like, okay, I just finished playing this video game. I did a whole let's play for it, right? And I made a retrospective. And this is my new instrumental album. Also, I just made a short film. Also, I'm writing like 10 books. You know? Open says, I found Terence McKenna when I was 15, and it totally changed my life for sure. At age 16. I feel that. We're still waiting for Mark Dreams to get up in here, so I'm not sure. I may have to message him in just a minute, so just hang on tight for him to get here. Manish says, Manish Infotech Vlogs and Gadgets Knowledge. Cool name. So subscribe, support. Absolutely. Here, let me... Okay. Oh, here he is. Why is he not showing up on screen? I just clicked accept. And we are live! Can you hear me?
Hey, hold up, bro. I don't think I can hear you.
You can't hear us!
Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly.
Okay.
Abdul says, It's a paragraph I made.
Yeah,
Welcome to the
I
live
can't
chat, but I
hear
don't know
you,
what you're
bro.
saying.
I want to
You can't hear
see
me? Shit.
if it's me or if it's you.
It's you. It's not my shitty setup. Cheers. Can you hear me now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. He has vanished. He has vanished to the shadow realm, and I must go retrieve him with my millennium. If I had a millennium item, what would it be? My millennium ring. No? A duelist says, I also might have autism.
Because I think it's
I do.
me.
Can you hear me?
So, yeah, so I got to restart. So, because, like, I think it's me. That's why I can't hear you.
Okay, then we will try this again.
I
Perfect.
can't hear you, but okay.
Yeah, so worst case scenario, I may just have to redo the stream. That stuff is strong. I may have to redo the stream, but we will be right back. We'll figure it out as we're going. This is he and I's both first time doing like a multi-live stream like this, so that is. Speaking of strong, if y'all want some of the highest quality white vein meter that you can get online, then go check out the sponsors of this live stream. Some white manda, because I love me some white manda. Personally, the white veins are my favorite in general, because I'm more of an energy freak. See, I started consuming cannabis whenever I was 12 years old, right? And I'd made a promise to myself that if I'm going to consume mind altering substances, then it can't be mind altering substances that like sedate me and like make me super fucking lazy, you know? I would rather take like, I don't know, like 3 grams of mushrooms, smoke some weed, and then like maybe consume like a little bit of meat or something. And then for like the next like 7 to 10 hours, you know, like I'm writing a script for my abridged series, I'm making a music video, I'm making a short film, I'm filming for a commercial, and doing all this stuff, right? Versus like, oh yeah, just smoke some weed and just like sit on the couch and like eat junk food and watch TV all day, you know? I would rather be in a more productive, energized headspace than not. That's why I've never been a fan of things like Xanax and stuff like that. I'm not even a big fan of indicas personally. I'm more of a fan of sativas. These tinctures, man, these are so good. I'm not even a big fan of meat or tinctures in general, but this one is good. I've been drinking on this for like the past like 2 days. It says Mark has returned. Can you hear me now?
Oh, shit. I still can't hear
You
you, bro.
still can't hear us. Shit.
Let me see.
Wouldn't it be some shit if my microphone was off?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is your microphone off? No, wait, no, that wouldn't make sense now, would it?
I
Shit.
mean,
I'm gonna just get more high then. Why is your side not working?
well, the only way. So the only way I can do it is if I don't use my microphone.
Oh, but you can hear me now.
Yeah.
Got it. We figured out the issue. Now that we're like 11 minutes into this, it's all your fault.
Blame the technology.
It's
All the
totally not my
technology's
fault for the
fault.
shitty setup that I have.
Me neither. This shit's all set up on all this extra shit, and I was just trying to make sure the like audio was crisp, but whatever.
I'm not a big fan of tinctures, but I've been drinking on this for like the past like 2 days. This is so good.
What is
It's not
it?
as good as like the powders, but
Oh, okay. Because it's backwards, so I was trying to read it backwards.
what would, out of every meat or strain that you've ever tried, what is your favorite one? Not vein, but strain.
My favorite strain is Green Hulu. I don't know why. It's just I've tried so many, and that's just my personal favorite. And like even now, that's the one I prefer to use, like still to this day. So
Dude, these things burn so fucking beautifully. It is kind of like wine. Like in the same way, like whenever you drink wine and it has like that fiery sparkle in your tongue. I love it
yeah,
so much. It's so addictive.
but I feel you on that because I've been doing this Blue Lotus extract that I've like been working on, and it has a little bit of a burn to it. Like, but like you said, like it almost reminds me of like an alcohol type burn. Like, but it burns so good sometimes because like the effect is just Blue Lotus is just dope in general. But I probably can't smoke on stream, can I?
Tim Williams. Go check out the sponsor of this live stream. You can also check out the main sponsors of Valentine Productions at ChrisPro'sOrganicBotanicals.com as well. I am so upset that they made THCO illegal.
Right.
Like they made it a
Me too.
Schedule One drug.
What? I didn't know
Yeah, like
that.
yeah, like I get that it is synthetic. I totally get that, but it hasn't hurt anybody, and there's no evidence to suggest that it would.
Right. No, it's technically because I've done enough research where it's technically just as safe as any other cannabinoid, but the fact that it's half synthetic, it just I don't know if it scares them. It also kind of scares people a little bit, when it's like half synthetic. But there's nothing really bad about it. And weirdly, it wasn't the strongest cannabinoid. Like there's cannabinoids out there that are much stronger than THCO, but yet they're still legal. So like it's just crazy.
See, that's why I was happy whenever the 2018 Farm Bill had got passed because I had always dreamed of the day that I could just like walk into a store and just buy some cannabis and not have to worry about going through some sketchy dude on the street or something. And then everybody started getting sketched out around me whenever I pulled out a fucking like blunt of like Delta 8 THC and they're like, "You're going to get us in trouble." And I'm like, "No, I'm not. Just shut up, listen."
Right.
Like that actually started a fight with me and one person. And like I don't understand like I understand their perspective, but they're not hearing that this isn't the marijuana plant. This is the hemp plant. This is totally
Right.
legal.
Yeah, yeah. And it's that bill definitely opened up this thing because even in states where cannabis is still illegal, Delta 8 is now basically everywhere now. So it's like you can get it anywhere and it's like completely legal. And a lot of people look down on Delta 8, but I love it. Like I don't use Delta 8 usually on its own. I like to mix it with other cannabinoids because Delta 8 on its own is like too relaxing for me. But if I mix it with another cannabinoid that's kind of energizing, something like HHC or something, um, it helps balance it out. I just think all of these things are great, and it's like whatever works for whatever person. Like some people prefer the flower, Some people prefer Delta 8. Like I've seen a lot of older people using Delta 8 because it doesn't cause the anxiety problem.
I don't. I mean, maybe that is also dependent on the person because like I've had Delta 8 vapes that hit my anxiety in ways that normal cannabis never has.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, but it is almost like an existential kind of anxiety.
Uh,
Like I never understood that of like people like I heard somebody call Delta 8 once the Reggie of Reggie. And like I'm just thinking to myself like you've never had a good Delta 8 product in your entire life. Cuz there are
right.
vapes out there that hit you so fucking hard that you forget that you hit that bitch 2 hours ago
No,
cuz you're
right.
so fucking loaded.
No, yeah, I feel you. Like 'cause that's what I'm on right now is Delta 8 and HHC. But like I just pack my own like vape thing because like I just get the distillate itself. So I'll just get like an ounce of the distillate and then just start dabbing that or smoking that or whatever. But it's definitely powerful. Like if you get the right, like you said, you get the right product or you just get enough. It's powerful on its own, like in its own way, but just not in the same exact way as like Delta 9. But
Who is your number one favorite character in all of Dragon Ball Z? And don't say Goku.
well, I mean, Goku is like literally on the background of my phones, right? So like, it's just one of those things. But if it wasn't Goku, it'd be Vegeta. Um, because like I like both characters for different reasons. You know,
Ash,
like
welcome to the live stream. We'll talk about that as well.
uh, oh yeah, fuck yeah. But no, I just like both characters for different reasons. But I like Vegeta for the character development. Like Vegeta went from who he was to like yeah, he's still Vegeta, but he's a family man now. Like like he's all about his family now, and like this is this thing of I respect that character development because I've gone through my own character development, and it's weird that like a cartoon can influence you so much. Like where I was like, well, if that person can character develop, then I can too, type shit, even if it's not a real person, you know. So like that's why I would say Vegeta.
No, Vegeta's a good character. I I just think that hating him is a lot of fun for people. Like or just like pointing out inconsistencies in like the way that he's written. Like I love the way that Dragon Ball Z did it in the Boopits, where you have him fighting off against Goku whenever he has like the M on his head and everything. And then he's like, Vegeta, you're not a bad guy. And he's like, when did I ever quote unquote become a good guy? Because it's like, yeah, up until that point in the story, after that, whenever he sacrifices himself, he was never really a good person. He was just a bad guy on the good guys team becoming a good guy.
No, right. But it's just his backstory is interesting too, because like it's like when you're forced to be a bad guy, like you're kind of in this life where like you're forced to do that thing, and it's just interesting, and there is a lot of inconsistencies in like Dragon Ball Z, like Dragon Ball in general. But that's a lot of the reason. Like that's Toei's problem. Like they're just kind of going all over the place. It's like now Akira Toriyama's gone, so like it's just this weird thing where there's a lot of inconsistencies, but yet it's still dope. Like so, like I still appreciate it even with the inconsistencies. But you know,
Well, that's just bound to happen in a long running anime. But here's
especially
an
when it's just kind of free flowed, where like they just freeballed it off. Like when Akira Toriyama made Goku, he didn't even know he was a Saiyan, like because that didn't exist yet. So it was like a thing because it was originally just a spin-off of Sun Wukong, like the Chinese god thing. So like that was the original story. But like it just kind of grew as it came along. And Vegeta was supposed to be killed off. Like because Akira Toriyama didn't even really like Vegeta, but the fans did, so he kept him in anyways. So it was just crazy how the whole story would have changed if Akira Toriyama was like, "No, I don't want Vegeta in there, so he's not going to be in there," and like it's just crazy.
Here's a fun fact. Do you know why in the anime Saiyan's hair is blonde?
I think
Because
it
it's
was
not.
because it's. I think it
Because
was
it's
because
not the
Akira.
manga.
No, right. Well, I don't know. I think the blonde is from Toei because I remember hearing this interview of Akira Toriyama was just kind of lazy, so he didn't want to draw in the hair. So it's like if he can make it a light color, so then he doesn't have to draw it in himself. Like it would just make it easier for him.
Yeah, it
But
was originally going to be black, but they wanted to save on money, and because they could save
yeah,
on ink,
yeah,
it was just straight up white. So they were like, "All right, we'll just make it blonde for the anime," which that's a
right.
great choice, but it came from a realm of uh them wanting to save money.
Yeah, yeah. Oh shit. Oh,
Stop it, seller. Welcome to the live chat. I'll answer that as well. Um, but Ash wanted us to talk about Terence McKenna.
okay.
What would you say the most powerful message Terence McKenna ever left behind is? Like, you don't have to say it
Um,
verbatim, but just the general
no,
idea.
right. I mean, I guess to me there would be a few because like Terrence McKenna was such a huge influence in my life, and like dramatically changed my perspective of what a man is. Like as funny as that sounds, right? But like, so it's like Terrence kind of goes this idea of like empower your own consciousness, or like he went on his journey, built a thing with the mushroom that he did, and had his experiences, which then kind of inspired me to go and do my experiences because it kind of gave me the permission. Where it's like, even though you don't need permission, but it's like in the society today, it's like they kind of make it seem like, oh, you shouldn't use psychedelics in this way, or you shouldn't do things in that way. So it's like explore the unknown. Don't be scared to like go into it, right? But like that thing that he said about how like if Mother Nature loves courage, and how Mother Nature responds to courage is by removing obstacles in your life. It's like these are things that he like I think he said that the mushroom said to him or something like that. But like they're things that stuck with me so much where it's like
Mushroom
it's
said to
not
me once, nature loves courage, and it shows you that it loves courage by removing impossible obstacles.
yeah, yeah. So it's like it's like that idea that well Mother Nature just respects courage. It doesn't matter really if you really know what you're doing, or it's like just have the courage to try it. You could fall on your face, but it's like Mother Nature will kind of catch you before you fall type shit. And just all those things about just the way Terrence's life was, the way he explored with psychedelics, the messages he got out of them. Um, it was just such a big influence that it's almost like I couldn't put one thing down that like one message, but it's more like so many messages, so many things in it, but like it's all kind of connected though.
You have like some 20 chapter book, and the title of it is just the greatest message Terence McKenna ever left behind.
Oh, the fuck yeah, yeah.
So, let's see. He also wanted us to talk about entities. That's an interesting topic. So, what do you think entities are?
What do you mean entities? Like psychedelic entities?
Yeah, like some
Um,
people think they're like gods and angels. Some people think they're archetypes of the collective unconscious. Some people think that they're like multidimensional beings. Like, what do you think they are?
possibly all of the above, but like
Yeah,
because like
probably.
because we're entities as well, right? Like I'm a human entity, but I'm still an entity. So like at the end of the day,
We're as
like these
alien to
are
them as they are to us.
yeah, yeah. So it's like a reflection, but yet it's so similar. So if they're gods, then what does that make us? Like it's that thing that it's this reflection of like, well, they're just beings, entities, or whatever. Like, just like there's monkeys or animals or chimpanzees, it's like these entities seem to be conscious entities made of light, or like just different. We're made of carbon, so like we're carbon-based life forms, and it's like these psychedelic entities seem to be like light photon-based life forms, or like something like that. But some people think they're dead people. Some people think they're like you said, like interdimensional beings. And I think that there's so many types of entities in there where it's like they could be all of the above, where it's like, yeah, they could be um interdimensional beings and dead people. Because we could also be interdimensional beings in the same sense, just in a physical human body. So it's like I said, like this reflection of like, well, I just think they're just beings, entities. And if there's multiple dimensions and we're in one dimension, then the other dimension should also have things or beings or entities inside of that dimension as well. They just might not be physical because it's not a physical dimension in a sense.
I like the shaman's perspective that these are actually ancestors and that this is a method of getting in touch with them. Because you hear in like fictional literature all the time of people being able to contact the ancestors, and you hear stories of people being able to. But then whenever you're presented with a brew called ayahuasca, and they're like, no, no, you can literally meet the ancestors. That's a whole nother subject than like go meditate in a forest for 10 years.
Right, right. No, yeah, for real. Because it's more, it touches a deeper thing that's like almost kind of scary. Because like they're just saying it all nonchalantly, like, "Oh, we're just speaking to the ancestors, like it's nothing, you know." But you say that to a Westerner, that's why it's like I like how
Then
like
you got
Terrence McKenna.
schizophrenia all of a sudden.
No, right, right. Or they start saying ancestors. Do you mean dead people? Like, oh my God, like it's this scary thing, but it's just real to them, to the shamans, you know, like. But I also agree because, like, I was talking to my friend Eric about, like, it's interesting that they seem to care about us. Like, why would they even bother with humans? Or, like, I don't know, like, they seem to love us or care, or they have this thing where it's like, well, they're either ancestors or they were at least humans at one point. Like, they at least care enough to be like something. I take it that did not taste that great.
Meet oh my god. Mitragina speciosa. Tastes like shit, feels like heaven. Get yourself some
Yeah,
today.
yeah. Hey.
See, I don't like the toss and wash method. It is my least favorite way to do it, but it's the only way that I can do it right now. I'm used to like making it into like water, heating it up, freezing it, taking
Yeah,
it
yeah,
out, giving it temperature.
that's a great way to do it. I feel you on that. Like the longer way is great, but sometimes you got to go with the just get the job done way.
Sucks being homeless.
Uh, I've been there, bro.
I've
Really
noticed that
does.
one of the best investments if you're homeless though is a fucking heater that doubles as a fan.
Ooh. Yeah, yeah,
Ash says that his favorite Dragon Ball Z character is Krillin. Yeah, no, Krillin is a very
oh,
underrated character. Like a lot of
yeah,
people are like,
yeah.
"Oh, Krillin is like such a weak character," and it's like, yeah, in comparison to the main cast, but he's still stronger than 99% of all the people on planet Earth.
Right.
He's a great character.
Yeah, because he's just a human, but like he's still really powerful for being just a human.
Ash also says, yeah, anime is the archetypal hero's journey. All shipments teach us about how to be good heroes. I mean, there are anime like that, but not all anime followed that archetypal story. But what you're
Right.
referring to is like shonen anime. Shonen anime is what tells
Yeah.
that particular type of story. Whereas if you watch something like like Hellsing or Elfenlied, that is a totally different story right there.
Right, right. Different, a completely different genre of anime. Yeah.
Stop It Seller says, never had a shroom trip inside a room. What's best, jungle or a hotel? It's going to depend on you, man. It's going to depend on you and what kind of person you are. I would say start. Fuck, dude, take over.
No, I was just probably what you was gonna say. Like, it really depends on you and like your intention with it. But like instead of a hotel or like jungle, why not just in your living room? You know, for like I don't because you said you've never had, or have you never had a shroom trip, or you've never had a shroom trip like inside a hotel or jungle? Like, have you ever had a shroom trip? Because if not, I would just suggest to like have one in your house where you're comfortable, like somewhere where you just feel safe at, just for your first time to like ride it out, you know, to see what it's like or whatever, and then kind of go from there.
I just had a psilocybin mushroom extract experience like a few days ago, and I spent it under a cover next to my heater. Like, I didn't go outside, I didn't do anything. I just stayed there in the state of meditation, like even before the come up. And it was one of the most peaceful psilocybin experiences I've ever had.
Uh, Word.
Because I haven't
See, that's what I
had
mean. Yeah.
psilocybin mushrooms in fucking years. So I was expecting this to like really, really take off. Instead, it just ended up being like this very relaxing, like cozy return to home kind of experience.
Uh, well, I mean, I guess it's that saying where it's like psychedelics don't give you what you want; they give you what you need, and it's like that's probably what you needed, you know, at that time.
Yeah, I am going through a lot of shit, especially emotionally.
Yeah.
One thing that's been very fucking hard. Jesus Christ, that's fucking strong. One thing that's been very fucking hard to deal with is not having my ex-wife's son in my life anymore. Cause like I never wanted biological children, and I never really cared to have children. But having him in my life for those few years meant more to me than I can even explain. And no longer having him right across the room, waking up to hearing him, or hanging out with him, or watching Dragon Tales with him, or just whatever, hurt me in a way that I never thought possible before. And it kind of made me want to like get into like maybe like doing like daycare or like babysitting or something. Because like
Word.
I need that kind of connection with a child in my life, especially if I'm never going to have biological children. I never knew how much I needed that until then.
Right, because you wouldn't know which you've never experienced. But no, I can feel you on that because I went through the experience of like I went through a breakup, and I didn't even think about the fact that well she had children, and I was in her children's life for 2 years, but I've known them since they were born. So like I knew them before I got with like I was in a relationship with their mom. So like it was this thing where I already felt connected. I then built this thing where like I was like, well, I'm gonna help her raise them. Like you start having the love as if they are your children. And then when she broke up with me, it never even crossed my mind until after like she was gone, where I was like, I'm not just sad that the love is gone between me and her. I'm sad because I built this connection with these children that I have no say in. Like, there's nothing I can, it's not like I can go try to get visitations. Like, they're not my children. So it's that it was a pain that I didn't expect to feel. Like, because I thought I was just gonna be sad that I wasn't with the girl. But yeah, I can. That's why it's this weird thing where I hear a lot of modern women. They talk about like why don't men like single moms, and it's not about liking a single mom. It's about this problem of like you date someone who has children, you get close to them, and you start raising them like they're your own, and then the woman can leave, and then she doesn't have to. Like you'll never see the kids again, type shit. So like it's just that's an unnecessary problem or pain or thing that is just it's hard to deal with.
Stop it, Seller says, I have done it only with my friends in the jungle. Never in a room. I love it in the jungle. I like this guy.
Right, right. Fuck yeah, that's awesome.
I don't know, man. I think I would freak out tripping in a fucking jungle.
I've tripped in a forest, like, cause there's a bunch of like forests and hills around me, so like I've tripped in the forest many times. But I've never went down to the jungle. But
I would be too scared. I would think that like a jaguar is going to eat my ass. I'm already tripping way too fucking hard for this shit.
well, at that point, I would just have to trust Mother Ayahuasca. I would just have to be like, well, listen, like you're gonna have to protect me from these jaguars and shit, cause I'm in your hands now. So like, you just protect my human body while you know.
I know I I know that I keep repeating this, but it's only because I want to meme it as best I possibly can, to the greatest degree that I can. But I think that what people call Mother Ayahuasca and what people call Mother Nature are actually the exact same entity. I don't think that they're two separate entities, like, oh, here's Mother Ayahuasca, here's Mother Nature. Because anytime I ever met Mother Ayahuasca, she always presented herself to me as Mother Nature.
I feel you on that though, cause like she does give me the vibe of like, mother, yeah, Mother Nature, like the planet itself, like I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, no, I feel you on that. And like whether that's like we'll never be able to prove that, obviously, but it's just something I can understand because like why would they even come up with the idea of like we say Mother Nature, we don't say Father Nature, we say Mother Ayahuasca, we don't say Father Ayahuasca, and like it's because this entity seems to be a female entity, but yet ayahuasca, every time I've done it, it seems to be more about earth and nurturing and like kind of like you take care of a seed until it grows into a little plant, then it'll grow its flower, or just like you take care of a baby and then it grows into an adult human. Like there's a nurturing to it that seems very grounded, even though you can it could take you far out into like DMT. It can take you out into like the spirit world, like DMT space and entities. But yet the whole experience just seems more of a grounded experience, even though you're far out. But and the first time I did ayahuasca, I did Coast ayahuasca. It barely worked, but I went out like I was outside, and I closed my eyes, and I seen like this spiral, this like Fibonacci spiral, but on the spiral was spiders. There were spiders coming up on the spirals, and like it was this thing where I was like, well, that was interesting. Like I've done DMT and seen a spiral like that, but I've never done like when I did ayahuasca, I've seen the spiral, but it was like I said, little spiders all coming up the spirals and shit. So it was like it always seems to be insect or plant or Mother Nature based somehow. Like somehow there's still Mother Nature inside of that place with that experience.
And you still haven't listened to Tool, huh?
No, I have not, bro.
If you
Everyone
ever
said
do, listen to their album Lateralis. It
okay.
is made with the Fibonacci sequence in mind. Like the song Lateralis itself is literally mathematically constructed to fit the Fibonacci sequence. So you know
Ah,
how it is like 1 + 1 = 2, 1 + 2 = 3, 3 + 2 = 5, and it keeps going on like that.
yeah.
It has the exact same mathematical structure in the lyrics, the way that they're written, and the instrumentals.
Oh, that's genius though. Like,
Here's the funny thing though. The lead singer, Maynard James Keenan, he said specifically that whenever they were first writing it, that was not intentional. They were
mm,
analyzing it, noticed that it was doing that, and was like, this is such a good idea. So they kept building on that.
ah, oh, that's interesting, man. That is an interesting idea though. Like, because you could do math things inside of music like that.
Speaking of music, when are you finally going to release your album?
Well, hopefully, hopefully sometime.
Yeah, hopefully. Sometime before we die, huh?
Right. No, it's just I've had a lot of like I put it on hold because I was working on something, but then I had like some personal shit happen in my life. So it's like now I just have more responsibility and like less time. So it's like I just need to take really I just need like 1 week to just sit down and listen like work on the songs. The album's basically done. It's just little things that I really want to be able to fix in the songs or little things that I really want to do to make it what I know it can be. Because the songs are great. It's just some of the frequencies are a little off. And like other people would probably be like, bro, the songs sound great. Like the frequencies are fine. But to me, it's like they're not fine because like when I was making some of these songs, like most
I'm
of
not
them,
creating a masterpiece. I'm creating a masterpiece and a half.
yeah, something like that, where it's like, because when I was working on the songs, I would take LSD. And when I listen to the songs while I'm working on it, while I'm on LSD, some of the, like, if the frequencies are right, it can enhance the visuals of the LSD. Like, it can enhance the experience of the LSD itself. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like if the frequencies are off, it doesn't cause that effect. So it reminds me of the shamans when the shamans would make ikaros. And ikaros are songs that they would come up with while they were on the ayahuasca. But
But
the
you could
songs
actually
were
see it.
exactly, but that's what I was going to say. Yeah, but the songs were something that they could see. And it's like when I make the music, I can also see the music or see like I can see what they're talking about. How like certain sounds or certain frequencies cause certain colors or it causes a certain feeling or it causes a certain uh response to the it makes a like the visuals almost respond in a certain way. So it's like I just really want to get that right and like and just kind of go from there. And a lot of the songs, like I got about the problem is there's like 13 or 14 songs on the album, and there's about five of them that are completely fine. Like the frequencies are great. So I need like six, like I don't know, like seven more songs to be at that level to be that good, and then I'll go from there. Um, and then the next album I have, it won't be this complicated because I won't have to go back and fix the thing because when I made them, it was like they were fine when I made them. But yeah, but honestly, I got my fictional book I've been working on, and I can't talk about the story of the book because like it's not copywritten yet. But like that's been another focus I've been working on is like really my fictional book because it's just going to be like a short. It's going to be like a short book. It's not going to be a long book. So I'm just going to get the first part out because it's a three-part story. But once I get the first part out, um, I feel like I'll have more room to work on other things. Um, because with the responsibilities in my life, I hit a point where it's like I have to start thinking about money a little bit more. And it's like it's easier to make money with a book than it is to make money with an album, like with a music album. So
It would be a fucking trip to see you and Tool try and make a fucking album together. Oh, it'll be out in
oh,
like
it'll be
25
good.
years.
No, me and my friend Nature, he also goes by Phi. He makes music as well, and we've been like hanging out again lately, and like so we've been talking about making some music together. But I can't even think about making new music until I get the music that I've already. That I need to get my music already out that's done before I start making new songs. So
Who would be the one band that you would point to as like your greatest inspiration for making music?
Um, for making the type of music I make now, I would say it's a mix between bongo, um,
Spongle's fucking amazing.
I forget the bass nectar, and then there was this if I could find the song, I don't even know. But there's this song called Let It Be. I think it's by Blackmill, I think. I'm not sure though. Um
And
that
my girlfriend
song
did something like that to me once.
that's that song really inspired me on a trip once where I was like, I wish I could make psychedelic like music. So then like I started making trying to make psychedelic like music.
Stop It Stiller says, I love the Reflection song. It's my favorite one of the album. If I heard it, I would know it, but I can't put my finger on which song that is. But I know it though. I didn't really like their newest album, Fear Inoculum, whenever I first heard it, but after listening to it about 20 times, it's easily one of their best albums.
Mm.
Instrumentally, it's their best one. Spangled, they don't really make too many albums though. As- they
They
have
haven't
like
made
five
music,
or seven.
right? They haven't really made new music in a while, I don't think.
Now, Museum of Consciousness is easily their best album,
Right.
but I may be a little biased in saying that because the first ayahuasca ceremony that I had, I ended up binge listening to that album over and over and over and over again, and I have such a deep connection with it now because of that that I can't really listen to any of their other albums and feel that same magic.
Uh I like some of their other albums, but just not like Museum of Consciousness. Like I could vibe to the whole album, like just the whole album. Some of the other albums, there's just a few songs off of the album that I wouldn't necessarily vibe to, but like you know, every song can't be a hit. So
I mean, unless you're Tool, in which case, like 99% of your songs are absolute and utter hits.
I mean, I've never listened to Tool, which sounds crazy. Like everyone looks at me like I'm crazy when I say that, but I never have. And I don't know why, because like I can easily just put them on, and vibe. But
Because saying you've never listened to Tool is like being a stoner who says, I've never smoked weed.
I don't know how that would be possible, but I feel like
And I had hit this one vape cart recently, about a week ago. That bitch. You ever just like take like two or three hits from a fucking dab pen and like you're like fucking like tripping nuts, but like not in a good way?
no, not yeah, but in a good way. I guess because the only dab pens I smoke is like this, and like I'm able to put my own cannabinoids in it. So like whatever cannabinoid I choose to smoke is what I smoke. So it's like I kind of just balance it out with like if I like to get too high, it has to be with the right cannabinoid or the right mixture. Because I've had bud. It's weird. Like I've had cannabis bud that people got from like the fake weed store or whatever. So it's just sprayed weed. It's not even real. weed, and I'd smoke that, and that gave me a feeling that was like not in a good way. So like, but
Never do synthetic cannabis. This shit is not okay.
well, the people in the streets don't really know it's synthetic, but really it's just CBD weed sprayed with THCA. So it's technically fine. It's just I
Oh, I
just
thought you meant like K2 spice.
no. It's like
Uh,
so it's like basically they're taking CBD weed and then they'll take a cannabinoid like HHC or Delta 8 or now at least they're doing THCA, so it's like Delta 9, but and they'll spray that on the bud. So then the CBD weed will then actually get you high because CBD weed doesn't get you high. But if you spray it with a cannabinoid, it will. And like that's what like the streets are flooded with this shit. Like all the fake weed stores are selling this shit because there's like fake weed stores popping up and shit. But I smoked that, and I don't know what cannabinoid was in that bud or what it was, but I just felt off. Like I just didn't like it. It was just too much in a bad way.
no, where did Mark go? Oh, I see.
I'm right.
Sorry, your
I
son
can't
put it in.
I can't hit the vape on camera.
All right, now let's get a little controversial in a topics real quick. All right, let's talk Andrew Tate. So, how do you
Okay.
feel about the recent allegations against him?
Um, I don't know if um I haven't looked up Andrew Tate in a while. Like I still watch his content once in a while, but I don't know if you're talking about like the original allegations because like the original
What he's in
allegations are
court
kind
for
of
now, sex trafficking and stuff like that.
yeah, the original allegations. So basically the problem is it's all been proven nothing's been proven because unlike like P. Diddy's in jail, right?
Oh,
And
did
there's
it?
enough yeah, Diddy definitely did it. There's enough evidence to prove it, so he's in jail. With Tate's situation, if he did it, they would have put him in jail. Like they would have kept him in jail. It's like it's this thing where the story it just seems fishy from the beginning. Like the whole thing of like, yeah, he got rich in a fishy kind of fucked up way, right? Like, but it's weird because he was just managing OnlyFans girls. So he was like had a company where he would manage these OnlyFans girls, and then he would obviously get paid, a percentage of the money that they make, and it was this whole thing. But then he would help them make more money because he would help push their thing out more, so then they can get more clients than they used to get. So it was like it was a business deal type thing. But that business deal does seem it's in a gray area because our society hasn't had OnlyFans much like that long. Like it's in a gray area of like digital prostitution where he was like basically like a digital pimp, right? And he had all these girls that he managed and they paid him money. So that's a digital pimp. But because there was no law against it, right? And the girls were willing to do it, um my issue with it is like now it's looking because that was proven wrong. A lot of the girls came out and said that, Andrew Tate didn't force them, like a whatever. There was a couple girls that came out about like, well, she called basically this chick was there, she had a boyfriend, so then she had to lie to her boyfriend, which then that caused the main problem. But there's just so many complications in this where it's like I don't know this man personally. I just know like, I've been following this thing. I see he's not in jail, right? He's fine right now. He's free right now, living his life, doing his thing, which means there's not enough there and it seems like a witch hunt. Because then they
Look,
just keep trying
all
to
I'm
bring up
saying is
things.
that whenever Andrew Tate had said, all these dudes thought that they were talking to my cam girls, meanwhile it was actually me behind the keyboard. The only thing I could think of was, Tate, that's kind of gay, dude.
No. So like, it's not him behind the thing. It's he doesn't. Women don't understand what men need. it's not just if a man is doing OnlyFans, like if he's paying for an OnlyFans girl, he doesn't need porn. He's not looking for porn. He's looking for connection because that's the difference between you could watch an OnlyFans chick on your own without speaking to her, but it's that thing where you get a girl. Basically, it was a whole business tactic. Tate just came up with the plan, right? You manipulate these men, you make them think that these girls care about them, and because Tate is a man, he knows what to say to men to then get them to pay more money. So to him, it was just about the money, which it's whatever. Like it's I don't have really any. I'm not praising him, and I'm also not putting him down because like it's a world that I'm not in. Like I'm not in that world of like, well, he was just trying to get rich. He found a way to get rich. He did his thing, and then came up with a plan. So his whole plan was just to get rich. So that's one of the reasons why when he first came out, all you would see is like controversial things that he would say, because that was a plan from his team to get him famous. So like it all seemed very strategic, very planned out, very like there was something there, and that's kind of one of the reasons why I was like, this dude's interesting because like he had a plan, he did this thing. I don't really agree with the plan, but it worked for him and like, yeah, because the plan was fucked up, he's getting some backlash. He had a lot of controversial things to say. He's getting some backlash. Um, but like at the end of the day, like I learned a lot from. It's funny this. I learned a lot from Andrew Tate. Like I don't like. Yeah, Goku helped me like be inspired to work out and get in shape. But Andrew Tate is the one that really helped me. Like, oh yeah, like this is what I need to do. Like because I didn't have a father figure really in my life, so like it's one of those things where when I see one of those masculine men on the internet being like, "Yeah, you need to stop being a bitch," and you need to just like whatever, it's like I probably needed to hear that. It's probably the truth. There's probably truth in that, and like I find it interesting. Like, yeah, he says some shit that's controversial, whatever, but I don't really care about him personally. I just wanted some of his information. Some of his information was valuable to me, and like whether he's a
You
good
know
guy
what?
or bad guy doesn't really
You're
matter.
you're absolutely right. I mean, a lot of things that he says is completely and utterly true, and I think that whether or not somebody likes him or not, that like you're saying, there is stuff that you can learn from him. I mean, there's stuff that you could learn from Hitler. But I think that on top of that, one thing that Andrew has on a lot of other people that whether you like him or not, he has a very fun, funny, and entertaining personality. Like the dude knows how to talk to people. He has that character where it is just like this out of the world character, like larger than life type of character. And at least in my opinion, if he was genuinely a good dude, I would actually really love him just for that simple fact. The fact that he has a great personality, he is funny, he is entertaining.
Mm.
Um,
I
but
did say he stopped drinking, so like I see that it's like as humans we're all like on our own journey, and maybe he was just going through some shit, but like now that he stopped drinking, he seems to be serious about the not drinking thing. So I'm like, I just find it interesting that like maybe we'll check back in on Andrew Tate in 5 years, and maybe he'll be like a completely like maybe not completely different, but just more calmed down, more like less he don't, just less whatever the fuck, because all that extra shit might not even have been real. Like, who knows if what the real Andrew Tate is? Because his main goal was to get famous and rich. So if that's your main goal, you might abandon your real self just to try to get attention.
I feel like the only person who knows the real, genuine Andrew Tate is well himself, if even that. And Tristan.
Yeah, I would say his brother. Yeah, I do respect that from them. That the love they seem to have as a brother, like brothers, that's a love that you rarely see like in the world anymore. Like brothers usually don't love each other like that, or like family doesn't have each other's back like that anymore. So like I kind of respect that in them. Oh shit!
I
2 seconds.
just
Yeah, hold on.
Shannon, welcome to the live stream. Shannon says I'm also smoking a joint. Oh, nice. What strain you got? Davey Mackey, welcome to the live chat. Smokey Yalfa says hi, my brothers. Shannon says these guys are weird. I'm also weird. And Smokey says LOL. You know, though, I mean, I guess since we're on the general topic of it, it does bother me seeing all of these, what do you call them, like inspiration gurus and shit like that online. Because you know, it is like there are really people out there who genuinely have a good heart and genuinely want to help other people. And to them, it's not about the money. It's not about the fame, any of that. And they genuinely just want to make people's lives better. They want to make people happier. They want to make people more intelligent. But those people are getting shoved all the way down to the bottom because of these greedy cunts who are weaseling their way to the top. And they're pushing at the expense of everybody else. And that is one reason why I hate seeing that, because it's like not only are you a fraud, but you're also pushing down on all the people who are really in it to really be in it and not just in it for the money.
Right,
So
right. No, I was
that's
just gonna
one
say.
reason why I respect Ralph Smart of Infinite Waters.
Ooh,
He's proven himself over the last decade plus that he's a real one.
right. No, I feel you on that. That he genuinely cares. Like it's not just the thing that he does. But I feel you on the whole thing you were saying because like that's a big problem right now. I feel like with the whole self help community or the whole thing where it's like the intention just seems to be a little off to me with a lot of these people. Like, because it's like now it's trendy to be a self-help coach. It's trendy to do this thing. So people are just doing it because it's trendy. And it's like it's not real to them. Like they don't really care. Like, like Ralph Smart or like and it's sad that like I was trying to think of just people off the top of my head, right? But it's sad that it's hard for me to think about people off the top of my head that truly care. You know what I mean? That are in that community, in that field, that truly give a damn. I mean, maybe Tony Robbins. And Tony Robbins is like he was doing it back in the day, and yeah, he got really rich from it. But I've seen clips of Tony Robbins where like he seemed to actually care. Like, he was like really helping these people, really doing this thing. And yeah, he got rich, but he seems to care. But Tony Robbins was kind of like the blueprint for a lot of these people because I think he was doing it in the 90s. So, like, a lot of the people after him kind of just took his model and but without caring the same way that he seemed to care. Now I don't know him personally, but it's just he seems to care more.
Even if it was just an audiobook form, have you read or listened to any of Terence McKenna's books?
Yeah, yeah.
Which one is your favorite?
Um, Probably True Hallucinations.
Me too. That is an iconic story.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, I would say that. 'Cause I was gonna say Food of the Gods is probably my second, but
It was actually interesting because I had been listening to his lectures for years upon years, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I want to hear him read his story, because like he's the one who wrote it. He's going to be able to read it better than anybody. And at first, I really didn't like it because it's not how I was picturing it in my head. But then, like a year or two later, I went back and I listened to the whole thing, and I was like, oh wait, no, this is better than I could have ever had it in my head. Like he's a phenomenal storyteller and writer.
right, right. I seen that Dennis McKenna, his brother, wrote a story. So like True Hallucinations, Dennis McKenna was in that story. So Dennis McKenna wrote his perspective of that experience, and I forget the name of his book. something a brother in the screaming abyss or something like that.
I've heard
Because
of it.
like yeah, because Dennis kind of went off the deep end in that experience. So like I've always I got to research to see if he has an audiobook of that because I prefer to listen to audiobooks.
I like the one story whenever Terrence is talking about it, and he's like, you see, he locked himself into this room, and he wouldn't have anything in the room with him. He just took everything out of the room. He even hurled the door frame, I mean, the window frame out of the window. He was thorough.
Yeah,
That story just gets to me whenever it is like he just randomly like cocked up the key from that thing that they hadn't seen in forever. Because Terrence is like, if you can actually produce these miracles, then produce that key that we haven't seen since we were kids. And he does it. And I can only imagine like being in that situation because there is no other I need magic to be proven to me kind of shit going on anymore. No, you have been proven magic.
right.
Smokeless says, for real. Stop It Seller says, long hair guy. LSD's intelligence is speaking through you. Smoky Yape sends in a fire emoji, and Stop It Seller says, raid chat as well, guys. Don't make us feel alone. Oh, you're not alone whenever you're here, my friend. We just have to
Right.
talk to like a billion people at once, so. Hashtag says, bro, are you a mutant? Yes. But I find it fascinating whenever you have people like that who write books because you have so many very well-spoken people who can talk endlessly, but then they sit down to write a book and they can't even come up with the first page. It
Uh,
it just makes me wonder where that disconnect is there.
right, right. Like I'm working on books, right? But like I feel like I'm great with writing, but I hate writing. Like I fucking hate it. So because I hate it so much, it's just something that I don't want to do. So then therefore it's like I'll write and I can come up with some great words. Like I don't really have the problem of like, well, I can speak it well, but I can't write it. I can write it, and I could probably write it better than I can speak it. But it's just I hate the process of how slow it is to sit there and write something out. And then you just have to write and keep writing and keep writing, where the process of just speaking is so much more fun to me. So like I don't know. I wish I had a writer. Like I wish I had someone that could just like sit next to me, like an assistant or something, and that they could kind of help me just write things. Because then I could just be like, "Yo, this is what I want written. This is what like whatever. This is the idea." It
You
would
would be
just
one
save
of
me
those
so much
people who
time.
like type for like courtroom documents and shit.
Yeah. Oh my God, that'd be great.
As far as like their personality goes, which one do you like better, Terrence or Dennis?
Terence McKenna. Dennis had his personality was just more grounded. You know, he's more
Yeah, he's like
he's
just like more
also
chill, cool, and relaxed. He's like
yeah,
the
yeah.
really cool dad, while Terrence is like the really cool uncle.
Yeah, I feel you. Because Terrence was a little more wild, was a little more, you know.
I used to not be the biggest fan of Dennis until I started watching his interviews because I only saw like little snippets here and there, and I was like, he's like just like a normal, regular guy. But then like you listen to him talk for like an hour, and you're like, oh no, okay, you are Terrence's brother.
I would love to, because Dennis is still alive. Like, I would love to
Yeah,
speak to Dennis because I would love to ask him just about like his experiences with ayahuasca because I heard an interview where he said something like, like Terrence's thing was the mushroom. But Dennis's thing has, lately, like, I mean, this was a while ago, but like he was saying that he's gotten into using ayahuasca more, and that became his thing. So, like, I would love to hear some of his ayahuasca experiences, or like why to him the ayahuasca is the thing for him instead of the mushroom. It's just it would just be awesome to pick his brain about that.
And that is a good question because ayahuasca is easily my favorite psychedelic if you're not counting DMT because it has DMT inside of it. So like one or two. Whereas like mushrooms would be like number three for me. So it would be interesting to hear someone's perspective on that to see like what
Yeah.
is why do you love mushrooms more than you love ayahuasca whenever ayahuasca can do this?
Right.
Stop a Seller wants to know how often do you do LSD? I personally don't do LSD much. I've done it like 10 or 20 times in my life. But Mark,
Well, I probably do it way more often than I don't want to say you should, but it's just one of those things. I usually take LSD, well, since 2020, right? I've been taking LSD pretty often because that's been like my main psychedelic that I've been using since 2020. Um, so like, I mean, I've done LSD since then, like
could you imagine if
what,
this was just like a
well
whole
over.
fucking vial of acid this entire time and I'm
Fuck
just sitting here
yeah.
like tripping
Oh, you just
balls?
been taking it the whole fucking time? Right, right. No, but no, I've easily done LSD over 500 times. And the last time I did it was 3 weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago now. I like sometimes I'll take LSD and I like to trip 2 days in a row. So like I'll take LSD at 10 o'clock at night and then 10 o'clock in the morning, the next morning, I'll take more LSD and then it'll keep me going, right, for another 12 hours. But like the problem with LSD is there's a tolerance to it. So like if you took 2 hits, you'd have to take 4 hits the next day for it to equal the 2 hits. But like I really like the high doses though. Like lately I've been doing like 8 hits, right? And like at the higher doses, it seems like the DMT world can start to drip into this world, or like there seems to be more spiritual experiences on the higher doses, but the higher doses of LSD are harder to handle mentally. So like you have to really kind of have a grip on your mind because the higher the dose, the more your mind kind of stretches out on the LSD. It's like it stretches the mind. So like once you get that under control and maybe like meditate or like I do a lot of open eye meditations when I'm on LSD, like on the higher doses. And like the ceiling will open up into like a fractal city of light. And like you can sometimes go into that city and like go into these giant cathedrals made of light or whatever. But like it reminds me of of DMT space or like the same space that like ayahuasca takes you to or something or mushrooms, but it's not. So like it's like separate from that, but it's just LSD is so interesting because it's helped me more with my mind than anything. Like DMT showed me the other dimensions and the city of light and this other side. But after I would smoke DMT, I would still come back down to my body and still be some like gangster thug dude back then. So like doing LSD really helped me put my mind together in the way that I wanted. Because like I would have trips where I'm just working on mantras, or I'd have trips where I'm just working on my mind or working on my consciousness, and it's like just that whole thing. So LSD is definitely a very powerful, interesting tool. But yeah,
Would you say that you prefer LSA over LSD?
I would say that I like everything for whatever I use it for. So like LSA, so like Hawaiian baby woodrow seeds or morning glory seeds, they tend to connect me to closer to the same world that DMT does. Because it's like with plant psychedelics, there seems to be usually a god or an entity inside of a plant psychedelic. So like the mushroom, it's like there's a consciousness of the mushroom. With LSA or like Hawaiian baby woodrow seeds, there seems to be like a consciousness, or like it seems so ancient, like you're interacting with something so ancient that like it's just there's like a grandfather or a grandmother teacher to it. But my friend Nature, the dude that also goes by Phi, he said something because we had an LSD trip about like 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago, and he was talking about it because I was talking about how all these plant psychedelics seem to have an entity that can teach you. Like it's like this wise grandfather or wise grandmother, and he was saying, well, I was telling him that LSD doesn't seem to have that. Like on LSD, you I've never been in contact with an entity. Like with a like I've never like it's not like I see Mother Ayahuasca like I do on DMT or ayahuasca, or it's not like I'm speaking to the entity like I would on LSA or mushrooms. But like LSD kind of forces you to become that wise grandfather. Like when you're in that LSD experience and you're going through the LSD experience, if you want wise information, the LSD kind of forces you to become the wise person that would have that wise information. And like my friend Phi was telling me about this, about how like that's what he thinks that the LSD is teaching us, the people that use the LSD, it's teaching us how to become that wise grandfather or grandmother. So like I thought that was interesting too. But with LSA,
So
it has
essentially,
that
what it's
wise thing
saying is
in
like
it.
the psychedelics are teaching us to think more like them.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's a funny way to put it, but yeah,
Well, I mean, they are the greatest teachers that you could ask for, so it makes
yeah,
sense. I've only had a few, I mean, a handful of LSA trips, like 4, 7, 10, something like that. But I always found that they were more spiritual than any LSD experience that I ever had.
it's definitely more spiritual. Like that's what I mean by it's more like DMT or ayahuasca. And I made a video about like, Hawaiian baby woodrose seeds. Are they an LSD replacement or are they more like an ayahuasca replacement? And like at the end of the day, they are their own thing. But I think the LSA experience is more like ayahuasca than it is like LSD. Um, but I can see what you mean, where it's just more spiritual. But I think that's what my dude Phi was meant when he was saying like the LSD is kind of forcing us to become that thing, like because that thing is not present really in the LSD experience. You're not gonna get some wise God entity to try to teach you something while you're on the LSD. But that can happen on LSA or mushrooms or DMT. Like,
What are your thoughts on HPPD, hallucinogen persisting perception disorder?
I definitely think it's real because like I feel like I've had it ever since like I went in the deep end with DMT. Because like even now I look at a white wall and it's there's still like a colorful TV fuzz. So like a white wall isn't perfectly white to me anymore.
It's almost
But
like permanently having to come down.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I just ignore it. Like I just it's just like whatever. But some people it would be a problem for like some people. But I definitely think it's real. But I also think it can if you just stop tripping, like if you stop tripping for 6 months, it might even take a year, maybe even 2 years. But if you stop tripping, eventually I feel like it would go away because it went away with me like once when I stopped tripping for like 2 years. And well it was a year and then I did LSD once and then I didn't trip again for another year,
Why did
but
you
yeah, it
stop?
went away.
Did you have to, or was it something you
No,
wanted to do?
I didn't have to. It was definitely something that I felt like I needed to do. Because this was like 2000, I think it was 2017 or the end of 2016 or something. Um, and it was mainly because like I was going through a lot in my life. Um, I started using plants and herbs. So like it wasn't like I felt like, oh, I needed to stop using the psychedelics. It was more like I stopped using psychedelics to then explore with plants and herbs. So then that's when I got into exploring with Blue Lotus and Wild Daga and Clip Daga and canna, Spalidium tortorsum, and like I've tried over 30 different plants and herbs, and like most people have never really heard of them. But those plant experiences, like those herbal experiences, some of the plants have helped me just as much as the psychedelics. But it's like each of these tools had something different to teach me. So like it's like then I just went and explored with the plants and then took a lot of time with it though, because I started like I was learning how to make plant extracts and like so I was learning how to make extracts with the plants, learning how to make them powerful enough. Because a lot of the plants you'll buy, you'll try it, and it doesn't really work. So then I would just have to do research and then figure some shit out and found ways to make them more powerful and like all this different shit. But like I feel like I just needed time to work on that. And like with all the things that was just going on in my life, I just feel like I couldn't add psychedelics as well in there. So I just took them out. But I still trip once in a while with my friend Phi, because then I actually had two trips in 2018 with him, but those were the only two times I tripped that entire year. Um, I'm pretty sure because that was the year I had my like big capsule ayahuasca experience, where like it actually worked that time. So
Stop It Seller says the only psychedelics I've ever done is shrooms. I've done twice. I live in Nepal. Can't find. Shout out to Nepal. And shout out to my sponsor, madhoneynepal.com. Says can't find LSD or DMT supply. We only have shrooms here. This time I am about to do 4 grams in a jungle with friends. Third time about to happen, and I'm super fucking pumped.
hey, fuck yeah.
I mean, if you're comfortable in a jungle like that, I mean, 4 grams should do you good.
That should be a powerful trip though, yeah. But like as long as you're with friends and it should definitely
Bring a hunting rifle. If if Terence McKenna was still alive today, do you think that he would have a YouTube channel? And if so, what kind of content do you think he'd be making?
I think he probably would have just continued doing what he was doing. Um and yeah, I think he probably would have a YouTube channel. I think we would have first seen him on the Joe Rogan podcast because in 2012, Dennis McKenna hopped on the Joe Rogan podcast. So like, if Terrence was still alive, they probably would have both just hopped on there, or maybe it would have just been Terrence, and maybe Dennis would
Terence
have.
McKenna was on the Joe Rogan Experience, and if you don't believe me, go to the channel and type in Terence McKenna on the Joe Rogan Experience. It's there. I didn't make it up. I didn't edit it to make it look like that. He was actually on there. Okay, don't crush my dreams. No, but I noticed that ever since Joe Rogan made that deal with Spotify, that what like $20 million or some shit. He's gone through a lot of controversy since then. I haven't been keeping up with too much of it, but
he actually
he gets a lot more heat than he used to.
right. He actually I think ended that deal or like revised that deal or something because now he's able to upload his podcast to YouTube again, like his full podcast. So like I recently started just watching his some of his podcasts again because I just seen that they're finally back up there. Because originally when he did that Spotify deal, like he wasn't even uploading his full podcast. They were just like clips on YouTube. So I was because he was trying to make us go to Spotify to listen to it or to whatever. But no, I'm glad he started uploading to YouTube and shit again because I just like it's just simpler for me to just put on it on the YouTube thing, listen to it. Like I don't have to watch the video. I can get up and do things, but like if I wanna watch the video, I can.
Yeah, I'm not even really a big fan of Spotify. The only times that I ever went on there was whenever he had like specific guests on there, and I because I couldn't get it on YouTube, I was like, well, I might as well just go to Spotify. But then like 20 hours later, I'm uninstalling the app. So it's like I
Yeah.
agree. I do prefer him on YouTube. It is just a better format for him.
Yeah, yeah.
Man, I would love to be on his show though. Like he may get
Right?
like a lot of shit and whatnot, but he's still a interesting dude to talk to. That and he's also the most popular podcaster in the world.
Right. No, but I think it would be dope to have a conversation with him. Like, like just to conversate, because the fact that he's conversated with so many people, like, it's like he would probably make for a good conversation. And like, he's been doing podcasting for so long, so like, so he's really good at what he does as well, like business wise or whatever. And like asking the right questions or getting the right person to open up or whatever.
Stop It Seller says, same friends I had trip with twice, 4 dried grams. First trip we did 2 grams each. 5 people. Second trip we did 3 grams, this time 4. Okay, yeah, see you're slowly building up.
Sure.
Both time was a beast of a trip. I mean, I would recommend like making trip reports or something if you really want to talk about it in detail.
Right. Especially because I think it's good, even if you don't like making videos or making a journal of your trips or something, like even if you don't share it with other people. I think it's just great in general because you can learn a lot from your own trip. Like things that like you can kind of go back if you make a video about it, you can kind of go back and be like, oh yeah.
Stop It Seller says, can y'all tell me about your early shroom trips? You go first.
Okay. What's funny is when I did mushrooms, I already did DMT like so many times that like I was kind of unaware of what psychedelics really were at this time. Like so I just started out with 1.4 grams of mushrooms because I was under the assumption that every psychedelic was like DMT. So I was confused on like, well, I thought mushrooms, and now mushrooms is very similar to DMT, especially at really, really high doses. Like really high doses with a blindfold on, but it's not as intense as DMT. So when I first did mushrooms, I was a little scared because I thought it was going to be like DMT. But then me and my friend Twiz, we just ended up doing 1.4 grams each, and we just kind of vibed to it. We was in my bedroom, like because like this is back when like I was still no, I don't think I was living with my mom, or I might have been living with my mom because I broke up with the mother of my daughter. So like I was either going to be homeless or I had to move back in with my mom. So like I was just doing this thing, we was just vibing. The shroom kicked in. It was beautiful, right? But then he played the Beatles, okay? And at this point in my life, I've never listened to the Beatles. I've never heard any of their music up until my first mushroom trip, where then my
Please tell
friend
me
played
before
the
you take
Beatles.
Sky with Diamonds.
Um, no, I think it was a bunch though. It might have been that one, but like he played a bunch of
Song.
it. That's what we just played. He was just playing the Beatles. And bro, I fell in love with the Beatles. Like my first mushroom trip, listening to the Beatles, I completely fell in love. And I was like, oh, like it's such amazing music, especially amazing the trip too. But like it was just a beautiful experience. And I didn't really have a real like the real powerful visuals. The visuals didn't really happen as much on that trip. Just slight breathing. Because it was only 1.4 grams. But then, like, when I started getting into 2 grams, then I did 2.5, then I did 3 grams. Like, and I worked my way up as well with the mushrooms. And like, yeah, they're definitely interesting. Now, though, like, I just think it's a little different when you put a blindfold on. So, like, now that's my preferred thing because, like, I usually trip alone now. So, like, it's usually just my preferred thing to, if I was to do mushrooms, I would do like an eighth to like 5 grams, put a blindfold on, and just go into the world, to the thing. Um, but this coming year, I'm probably going to do some mushrooms with some friends because my friend has never done mushrooms, and he wants to do them. So like obviously I do them with him. But mushrooms are a good time. They're dope.
I had this one experience. I don't remember the entirety of the experience, but I do remember. Well, I remember a little bit of it, so I'll just tell the story. This was back whenever I was like 16 or 17, and I had taken like 4 or 5 grams of the penis envy strain, and I was sitting in my ex fiance, not my ex wife, but my ex fiance's car, and we were talking for like 40 minutes to an hour or whatever while it was digesting, and I just remember like looking around the car, and the car was all pretty and everything. I remember looking at her hair, and her hair was like sparkling like something from like a Disney movie. And at this point I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm about to start tripping really hard. So she had left, and I got out of the car, and as I'm walking back to my trailer, the entire thing was just like this magical adventure of like stepping stones of like rainbows and colors. It's hard to explain. But then I had got inside, and I'm like laying down, and it's like hitting like really, really hard. And I lay back, and I'm like going into my mind, and I'm addressing different parts of myself. And like one of the things that came up was like I'm like a really bored person. Like I get bored super easily. And so I start delving into that and having this internal conversation with myself or with the mushroom, and I started to address all these things and about my perspective on life and reality and stuff like that, and why I get bored so easily. And after that trip, I was no longer as bored of a person, but that's a whole thing. But my point that I wanted to get to is I remember I was sitting there, and I had my legs over my heater, and I was watching the heat like rise from the heater, and like they were doing like different shapes and like music notes and everything. And I remember looking over at the floor, and like my eyes like kaleidoscoped into the fucking ground. It was like my eyes like zoomed in, and I could see things that were like in the ground, and it started getting to like a quantum level. And I've never experienced anything like that again on a psychedelic, but that was fascinating to me because like I want to do that again. Like it's like it's so hard to explain other than that, but like my eyes kaleidoscoped reality where like I was sitting here, but it looked like,
Mm.
and that image still sticks with me to this day, and I fucking love it. I love it so much.
Mm.
My best psychedelic experiences were on DMT, ayahuasca, and LSA. Maybe you could count salvia, but I did salvia wrong. You're not supposed to smoke salvia, you're supposed to chew the leaves.
Now I've smoked salvia 3 times, and I'll never smoke it again. It was my first psychedelic though, so like I give it props to being the first thing that opened my mind. But it's not something I would ever do again. Um, like unless my like daughter grows up and like she wants to try it, like but like I'd prefer to. I would try chewing the leaves though, like because chewing the leaves it seems to be more of a beautiful experience.
Yeah, that's the
Smoking
only
it
way I will ever do it
was
again.
horrible. Right.
Weren't
I've
you
actually
sitting
tried
outside in a chair at night whenever you did it?
so when I did it, I was actually in my room in my chair, like in my room in my mom's house. So like I was in my chair and I had like a recliner. And when I smoked it, the chair like lifted like sideways as if the chair's legs were sideways, as if I was completely sideways, and then I just duplicated up, like started cloning. So like and there was 4 of me, then there was 8 of me, then there was 16 of me, then there was 30 something of me, then there was 60 something. Like, and then it was like I ended up in the middle of this endless tunnel of me, kind of like you would see if you looked into a mirror and you make a mirror face itself, and you can see whatever's in the mirror like 100 times. Like It was like that. It was like being stuck in that. But like it was completely mind blowing because I thought it was going to be fake weed. I didn't even know. Once again, I didn't really know what psychedelics were, so I thought it was just going to be something like a really strong fake K2 type weed, like a K2 thing. But it was not. But it opened my mind though. So
Stop It Seller says, I encountered a very strange phenomena. The mushroom was giving me the sense of sense, and all of a sudden, it would take me to this world emptied of sense. After showing me the sense of sense, it would give me a sense to make me know that it's happening, and then all of a sudden, it would show me its magic and just kill the sense of any sense. Am I a newbie or is this a strange phenomenon? It sounds like what you were experiencing, and I could be totally wrong, but just from the way that you're describing this, it almost sounds like you are experiencing everythingness and then experiencing nothingness.
right, because I was going to ask like, what he means by the sense of sense. Like you were given the sense of like now you have sense. Like you know what I mean? But no, it could be that. Yeah, the everything, the nothing, the oneness, the
The yin yang, two sides of the same coin, nothingness and everythingness. They can't exist
right,
without one another.
right. Yeah, I mean, you'll definitely get a lot of strange phenomenons when you're diving with psychedelics in general, right? Like because strange as in like they're not the normal. It doesn't normally happen, but there's a lot of these phenomenons though that it's just like the oneness, for example. Like a lot of anyone who's really done psychedelics, like they've done them enough times, you start to dive with it, you'll experience the oneness, and it's like I can say it to a stranger who's tripped enough, and I can say the oneness, and they could be. It's like they understand because they've also felt that oneness or felt that or like you just said, like the nothingness, and then like like that's something that can be felt on a psychedelic experience, or it can be experienced because it's deeper than felt sometimes.
The yin the yin yang is a very interesting symbol. Um I remember you were live streaming and I had brought this up, but I'll bring it up again because I kind of like talking about this one. I have a theory or some sort of hypothesis or something whenever it comes to the yin yang. So the yin yang represents, or Buddhism in the yin yang anyway. If the yin yang represents the two sides of the same coin, everything, nothing, darkness, light, female, male, uh, hot, cold. But whenever it comes to Buddha himself, Buddha was. You have two different Buddhas. You have a fat Buddha and a skinny Buddha. Now, both of them weren't Buddhist in the way that most people would imagine. They were both missing something. They were both extremists of one side of the yin yang, where one wanted to give up all physical possessions and go meditate under a tree for 1,000 years, and the other one was like, oh no, I will still indulge in the beauty of life and da 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 and the material, but wasn't as spiritual. I think that whether or not these two people existed doesn't matter because it is that point right there that really matters. It is don't be like either of the Buddha. Do be the centerfold of that. Take from both of their lives and implement it into your own. Don't be an extremist. Don't be like overindulgent in life, but also don't be underindulgent. It isn't about the left or right side of the yin yang, it's about the interface.
Mm. Yeah, bro, I love that idea. I feel you so much, and like I don't think that was necessarily. Maybe it was, but I don't know if that was necessarily intentional. When as Buddhism has been created, but that's a perfect representation of the yin and yang, just in Buddhism in general. And like because I've heard like Buddha talk about like well I haven't heard but like I've heard people say that Buddha would talk about like it's all about the balance. But he only said that like near the end of his, I guess it was closer to the end of his life type shit, where like it's all about the balance. And it's like it's crazy because it's like I don't know if each Buddha knew each other, or like you said, or even if they truly existed. But that idea in general, it's just another great representation of the yin and yang.
So as far as spiritual teachers go, whether it's like from a religion or it doesn't really matter, who would you say your favorite one is? Mine is obviously Jesus Christ, but who would you say yours is?
Um, I mean, so you mean like spiritual teachers? So like like Jesus or Buddha or like
Yeah.
Muhammad or um I guess I would say Jesus, but I also really like Buddha's thing. Like and like after what you just said, right, about the whole Buddha thing, it makes me even like it even more though. Because it's one of those things where it's like, well, that whole Buddha thing, but Jesus' story in general. Like I don't um I guess my belief of Jesus is more like the Muslim belief. Like the Muslims believe in Jesus still, and I'm not a Muslim, but I just I just love Jesus's message, what he stood for, like what the whole thing was, um, and like because that whole thing it's cliche now to say like love thy neighbor, but like I find that so powerful that if you can truly like let's say Jesus was truly walking around like that. Like he truly loved like truly loved thy neighbor like you love thyself. That's powerful. Like if more humans could walk around like that, that'd be beautiful. Right? So like
One of the interesting things about the story of Christ is I've heard a lot of people talk about how there's no way that God can be this all loving God whenever in the Old Testament he did this, this, and that, and he flooded the earth and all that. But here's the issue with that argument and people taking that as their stance. The New Testament, the point of Christ was so that God could redeem itself or himself, their self. That was the point of God coming to our world in the form of a human being and then dying for our sins. It was to show, as God, I am genuinely sorry for what I did to you, and I am willing to go through this for you because I love you, and you will always be accepted into the kingdom of God. Whereas some people like to look at it as like, oh, well, the stories contradict each other. They don't contradict each other. The New Testament is a continuation of the Old Testament.
uh, and see I mean I guess it's no disrespect, but that's kind of what I mean where I say I believe in the Muslim interpretation of God. Because I grew up a
The Islamic
Christian, right?
belief is
So like
fucking beautiful.
no, yeah, it's just I grew up a Christian, right? So like I went to a Catholic school. So I learned about Jesus before I even knew who I was. I knew who Jesus was. And like I knew his whole story or whatever. That's why I say his story is beautiful and it's this whole thing. But there's just things that it's like I feel like we get too caught up on whether it's or as humans get too caught up on the details. Some people believe Jesus was God or the God of the Bible. Some people be like, well, if God was loving, why would God do that? Where my personal belief is God has nothing to do with that. God's it's like God's too busy holding the universe together to deal with our affairs here on planet Earth. Like If there's alien planets, there's hundreds, thousands, maybe hundreds of
So in
thousands
that
of other
sense, would you say
species.
that we're more of like a projection of God's love?
I think it's like I hate to this because it's controversial to say in the world, right? To be like, oh, we are God, but we're not God in the sense of being this all powerful being. We're God consciousness inside of a third dimensional box, and inside of that box, there's limitations. So it's like I think it's our responsibility to fix our human affairs. Like where it's like the floods happen because planet Earth has certain problems. There's tsunamis, there's hurricanes, there's tornadoes. These are just part of an Earth cycle. These are just the cycle of the planet. But primitive humans will always blame God for the destruction when it's just it could be broken down to science. So it's like there's certain problems that we have where it's like the problems we have now today that we've always had is like problems like war, right? War kills so many human beings. We're killing each other. We have all these issues, these problems, but these are our problems. And like it slightly bothers me when like we all blame God for the problem, but if we just took
When it's like God
responsibility
already
for
gave
it,
us the message.
yeah, then it's like if we
God
just
already
took
said, "Love thy
responsibility
neighbor."
for
What the
it,
fuck are you doing?
no, right, but it's like that's where I mean where it's like it's just our responsibility to like fix our own problems and like even like Jesus or Buddha or whatever, like Buddha, this is why I love Buddha's story or like Buddhism in general. These people walk a lifestyle. They live the life. Like people that practice like the Buddhist monks, they live a lifestyle that is close to ideal like Buddha would that helps them in this state. I think there needs to be something more than just a belief because like you can believe in a Jesus or believe in a thing, but if you're not practicing those practices, like how many Christians are practicing love thy neighbor? How many of it's just one of those things where it's like it's no matter what, it's up to us to become that or to work on ourselves. It's that whole thing where no spiritual teacher can save us. We have to save ourselves. All they can do is give us information or give us a roadmap or like I heard a Buddhist monk say that Buddha is not going to save you. Buddha just gave you a roadmap for you to follow. That if you want to follow it, you can. But like it's that thing. So that's why I vibe with Buddhism on that because Buddhism doesn't talk about what God is or this or that. They're more talking about the practices to become that thing in your own life. So like I really vibe with that too. Instead of waiting for a savior, because I really don't think anyone's coming to save us. If we don't save ourselves, we're fucked. Like
I actually came up with this joke and nobody gets it, so I don't expect a laugh from it, but I'm so proud of this joke. So, a Joker walks into a bar, and the bartender asks, "Hey, how are you doing today, Joker? What can I get for you?" And everybody all says at the exact same time, "I'll take another beer." No?
well,
So there was one that Alan Watts had actually come up with. He was like, a lot of people want to know, is a zebra black with white stripes or is it white with black stripes? Well, the answer is neither. It is consciousness dressing itself up as a zebra so nobody runs into it.
fuck yeah, some real shit though.
Buddhism is fascinating, man. Ever since I first got into it, I've had nothing but respect for people who live that lifestyle, man. Like aside from like Christianity or like being a genuine Muslim, I don't think there's any real deeper connection to the spiritual than these three belief systems, unless you count like shamanism.
Right, because I was about to say that's just my thing is like shamanism. Because like I researched after being Catholic, I then kind of stopped believing in that because I went through like bad things in my life. But then I started researching so many different religions, so many different things, and then came across shamanism. And see, it's this funny thing because I started researching shamanism and like the pineal gland, the third eye. Then I came across DMT or like information about it. And then I eventually, a year later, I smoked DMT. But the only reason why I even smoked DMT in the first place was because I heard like these shamans talk about it takes them to the spirit world. So like I would have, because DMT was at first I did salvia, and then I smoked DMT about a year later, only because the salvia experience opened my mind to then make me start researching what the fuck was that. And then like my friend was doing some shit, so I started like he was like on his hippie wave doing some weird meditation shit. So like he told me about the pineal gland. Then I researched what the pineal gland was, and then eventually came across DMT and ayahuasca shamanism. And it's like that's why from the beginning, like I would say like I was on the journey to become a modern day shaman. And like I was never trying to be rude about it or like trying to sound whatever. It was just
No, it
real to
comes from
me.
what you are as a shamanologist.
Right. Well, I guess my thing is I say shaman because I was traveling dimensions before I knew the information. So like before I really like I knew about shamanism and I knew that DMT took you to the spirit world, but I didn't know much more than that at the time when I did the thing. So then I just did the thing and slowly developed practices to help manage the thing, like meditation practices, different focus practices to help me learn how to focus my mind like better in the DMT experience. But like then eventually, after doing DMT like hundreds of times, I then tried mushrooms for the first time, and then I tried LSD for the first time, and then like I tried ayahuasca for the first time, and like then I eventually got into all these things and started learning more. But uh, like now I guess I'd be a shamanologist because I know enough, I've experienced enough. But I would always say modern shaman because to me it was just real. To me, it just became real. Like I'm actually traveling dimensions, speaking to entities, learning from Mother Ayahuasca, learning from this God entity who's showing me like the DMT vortex, but she would show me the machinery that makes the vortex work. Like she would show me the machinery around DMT space, and like I would live lives as a light being in a city of light, and like I lived a whole life as a light being, like, and I'll never forget that. And like so to me they were so real that I was like, that's my spiritual practice because this is real to me. It's like the way that a Christian believes in Jesus is the way I believe in Mother Ayahuasca, except I've actually connected with Mother Ayahuasca soul to soul like hundreds of times. So like to me it's so real because like she's just helped guide me through the thing. Like I don't know how to explain it, but like and it sounds crazy to people that don't really, you know, get it that I'm like, well, Mother Ayahuasca is a real entity. So you can build a friendship with any conscious entity and like so that's what I did in a sense. And so yeah. And so this day, like I'm getting ready to smoke DMT again on my birthday, which is like December 25th. So I'm gonna smoke DMT with my friends because we're gonna have a trip, but my one friend wants to come over in the morning and smoke DMT. And I haven't smoked DMT in a while because the last DMT trip I had, this female entity, or like you could say Mother Ayahuasca, whatever, she like yanked my soul up type shit and like threw me across the universe and brought me back, threw me over here and brought me back. And like she basically was telling me, like, no matter how much experience I have, like or how much knowledge I think I have, she was telling me that she's in charge. Like she's the one that's in charge, and that basically I don't know, I just got the jits that I need to get my shit right and that was 2019. That was Halloween 2019. I smoked DMT on an LSD trip, and yeah. So I haven't smoked DMT since then, but I'm getting ready to smoke it again because I feel like if I come in contact with that female entity again, I feel like she's not gonna be like. motherfucker, you need to get your shit right. And like I feel like, maybe it's like, okay, I got my shit right enough. Like I'm not all the way together yet, and like life is still not where I want it to be, but I feel like I'm better off than I was, so maybe like I won't get that same reaction of like a disappointed mother or some shit, because that's the vibe I got from her the last time I interacted with her. But DMT is crazy, bro. Like,
DMT is easily, at least in my subjective opinion, the best psychedelic aside from ayahuasca itself. Nothing is really going to connect you to nature or to quote unquote God as far as like psychedelics go than DMT. I mean, DMT is literally produced throughout all of nature. It is produced in the human body. It is theorized to be produced in the human brain from the pineal gland. I mean, anything that is alive or conscious has some traces of DMT inside of it. It is the most natural chemical aside from like H2O.
right. And because it's basically, similar to like tryptophan or whatever, and tryptophan is like one of the building blocks like of life in a sense. So like it's definitely it's just interesting that it's so in a part of life and it's so out of life as well. Like if you smoke it type shit.
Stop Seller says, by sense of sense, maybe I would mean a sense of an unknown aliveness. And when it was shattered by its magic, it was like an oblivion with eyes open and the brain mechanically functioning. And then onto the topic of spiritual leaders. Stop the Seller says my favorite ones are Judo Krishna Marde, UG Krishna Marde, and
Mhm.
Nis. Yeah, I am absolutely butchering those, but yeah, shout out to them. I think that comes from
Honestly,
Indian beliefs.
the Indian teachers, I don't know them by name, but there's been some Indian spiritual teachers that I would have named as well if I knew them by name, because that Indian spirituality, like, it's just a different it's a different thing. Like it's just, to me it's so like
And shout out to India.
deep, huh?
Shout out to India.
No, right, right.
Okay, so we're almost at the 2 hour mark, and the phone is almost on a 10%. So
Actually, I was just about to say I gotta go soon, bro.
so if you no, we'll just do a general question. What is the message that you want everyone to take away from this live stream?
um, from the live stream or just in general?
Oh, it don't really matter. Just a positive message to leave off on. Maybe something to clip for a future video.
Um, I guess to well, from the stream in general, it's just one of these things where I feel like people will use psychedelics, but they don't realize like you can build your own relationship with it. You can build your own thing with it, where it's like you can have a certain, like if you have a certain routine where you're like, well, every 2 weeks or every month, I'm gonna have this experience where I connect with this psychedelic, which helps me connect with myself. Like it's this thing where psychedelics get looked at like they're in the modern world, like they're just a tool that can heal depression or heal anxiety, and they can, but I just think it's better to build, as crazy as this sounds, it's just more of a shamanic perspective, to build a friendship with it, to build a friendship with the plants, and like to find what plants work for you, to find what psychedelic works for you. Because, like you said in the beginning of the stream, um, Terence McKenna and Dennis McKenna, they have, Dennis McKenna's thing is ayahuasca. Terence McKenna's thing was the mushrooms. My thing at first was DMT, but like I do something that just works for me. I explored with DMT for like 2 years. Then I tried mushrooms. Then I tried LSD. But since 2020, I've been experimenting with LSD. And I haven't really done any other psychedelic. I've tried MDMA in between that and ketamine and a few other things, but the main tool I've been using on my journey since 2020 has been LSD because that helped me more. Like that's just it's just what I needed to do on my journey. So it's like you might not need to do ayahuasca, with or you might not need to whatever. Maybe your thing is mushrooms, or maybe your thing is whatever. But like, just don't be scared to do the thing, because like you'll never know what your thing is if you never tried it. Like you'll never know what works for you if you don't do things. So you have to figure out what does. But, but yeah, bro, I actually do gotta go though.
Yeah, no, I saw your thing cut out. But regardless, thank you for joining. I had a great fucking time. And if any of you want to check him out, y'all can go to his.
Appreciate you, bro. All right, bro. Appreciate y'all.